Hey everybody, welcome back to Shock and Schlock. I'm your host, Herschel Gillis, and today I am returning after a bit of a hiatus with reviews, just because I've been really busy. Became an uncle recently, so yeah. Had some family stuff to attend to, banana box orders, other stuff, but I am back. And I'm back with what I would consider to be one of the most disturbing films, not just that I've reviewed on the channel, but that I've seen in general. And I just want to also preface this review by saying if you are sensitive to topics of sexual assault or don't want to hear that or anything about it, this is not a good review to watch. There's no shame in skipping this one. But for those that are still watching, today's review is for the 1975 adult film directed by Zebedy Colt, The Intrusion. The story is pretty basic for this. That is a man is posing as a traveling salesman. He's driving around this neighborhood. Goes to a housewife's home. Her husband left for the day. He knocks on her door, tries to sell her product, like a fake one. Busts in and sexually assaults her. Her friend comes later in the day. He does the same thing to her, and then he forces the two women to do stuff together. That's about it. I am going to be talking about the ending of the film in this review as well, so if you don't want a spoiler, I'll tell you beforehand, and then you can just skip to the end of the video. It's nothing too bad, but it's a ending that I have to discuss in the review because it is one of the major takeaways of the film. So, the film never really takes any twists and turns, but this is the most disturbing, uncomfortable, and I would say accurate depiction of sexual assault that I have seen in cinema, and the fact that it's an adult film only makes that worse. This film is incredibly unpleasant. I want to start out this by saying that this is an incredibly unpleasant, bleak, and disgusting experience. You're going to want to take a shower after watching this, and this is a very effective film. Yeah, this one took it out of me, and this will take it out of you too if you start wondering why I'm doing this. I'm trying to sort of think about how to speak about this without, overdoing it, I would say. So first off, just like any film, I'm going to talk about the acting. The acting is surprisingly, almost shockingly good. Our female lead, the housewife, is very believable and does a great job in her performance, as does the villain and her friend. There's only 3 people in this film. 4 from the husband as well in the beginning of the film, but he's not shown long enough for it to be worth mentioning. But the performances in this are very believable, very good. Obviously, this is a film not with a ton of dialogue. I mean, there's some, but I mean, it's not, like quotable dialogue or anything. It's just related to the situation these women are in. And the physical performances are very well done as well. They feel very believable. And something that you see in a lot of roughies and everything is that, like, stuff like The Taming of Rebecca, which I'm not a huge fan of. The assault in these grimier scenes sort of, it makes it very obvious that it's a adult film. The woman or man, depending on what film you're watching, eventually sort of like subdues to what's going on and, enjoys it because it's supposed to be an adult film that is arousing. This does not do that. The housewife and the friend in this never give in. It's very realistic. I don't want to get too much into that, but you can imagine what I'm saying. Like, they are not... they're screaming and trying to fight this man that is doing this to them, and it's very disturbing. It's very real. The villain is never comical or over the top. It is just very realistic and evil, and it's just like this portrayal of hate that is rarely seen in cinema. Probably for a good reason, I will say that. This film also would be a very disturbing and uncomfortable experience if it was not an adult film either. But the fact that there's also hardcore scenes in this that are not glamorized. There's occasionally a shot in this that feels like a typical roughie, if you're familiar with them. But for the most part, it is very clinical and not exaggerated. It's just sort of matter of fact. And for that, it's incredibly uncomfortable to watch as well. Yeah, it's just a rough, grimy film. This is probably the most uncomfortable I've been while watching an adult film ever. And as a fan of 70s roughies, this one is probably the peak in meanness that I've seen. The cinematography is definitely a high point of the film, but not for the typical reason of like there being like wide shots or long shots or, you know, great camera work or anything. It's just that it feels very clinical, and it feels intentionally so. The soundtrack to this also adds to like this uncomfortable feeling that sort of permeates the entire film, with exaggerated, like almost mechanical sounding stuff when it's involving the villain, more bubbly, upbeat stuff when it's involving like the women, like, and just sort of showing that like a shift from this being a normal day to being like hell on earth. It's not a good soundtrack, but I think it fits the film for what it's trying to do. It's uncomfortable and annoying and irritating, and it's just like this drill in your brain as you're watching this, and it's just an assault on the senses in every way. Yeah, it's something. And here's the part where I'm going to be talking about the ending, so if you don't want to hear about this, go ahead and skip. But the ending is important. It's nothing that you're probably not going to expect, but I'm going to talk about some specific aspects of it. So, this is a rape and revenge film without the revenge, really. Stuff like Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave. You get like this climax with the rapist getting what's coming to him, and it's satisfying, and you feel like, well, at least he sort of got what he deserved. And it was like this, it's always like this gruesome, over the top thing, and it's like the woman that was the victim becomes the person that takes revenge and became the, like, whatever. The villain does die. The housewife stabs him with the knife that he was using on both of them earlier. But it is not gory. It is not over the top. It is quick. And compared to what he put the woman through in the film, it is not satisfying at all. It is far less than, the villain deserves. And it just leaves you feeling really cold. It feels less like a climax and like a resolution to just an abrupt stop to this hell that these women are going through, like a final, like, finally it's over. It's not like I have taken my revenge on these. It's just, it is finally over. And when it's that way, you get a glimpse of the two women for a minute there. Then the film cuts out to the street. It starts showing houses down the road, down the street. It's a bright, beautiful day. Birds are chirping, and everyone in the houses around them are none the wiser as to what just happened. It's absolutely haunting. and it's effective, to say the least. It just makes you feel awful, intentionally so, I would say. You're just left there staring at the screen because you know this happens in the real world, and there's it could be happening around you and you wouldn't know, and it's just very depressing and disturbing and upsetting to think about. So, do I recommend the film? To most people, no. This is not really a film to be enjoyed, but it is an experience. It really does provide the most realistic depiction of this that you could watch in a fictional film. It's a well done film for what it's trying to do, and if you're really looking for that next film to give you a gut punch, like this is definitely up there. The Bunny Game would be another one that was up there for me personally. I think this one even rivals that, though. And yeah, if you think you can handle it and you can stomach this, it is an experience I would say that's worth having. But for those sensitive to the topic and people that, if this doesn't seem like a film that you want to watch, don't watch it. Don't test yourself on this one. There's no shame in that, obviously, but it's just one of those films that's hard to recommend or not. If you want to watch it, if what I said sounds interesting or something that you'd want to experience one time or however many, no shame in that, go watch it. But yeah, this is definitely the peak and most mean, roughy film I've ever seen, so that's it for the review. What a way to come back, right? Very bleak. Just want to finish this with a shout out to my Amish listeners. You guys are the best. You're my top listeners ever. I am going to be doing some entertaining reviews later this week, though, for films that I think are funny or fun or gross, and I do have them planned. I have even a double feature review planned, so keep an eye out for those. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Keep your notifications on. And as always, I've been your host, Herschel Gillis, signing off for today. Zero thoughts, zero editing, zero brain cells, and zero planning. I will see you all later this week, and thanks for watching, guys.